Hello and welcome to I Do Canals. Have you ever travelled somewhere and when you've got there you realise you've left something at home really important? Well, after lots of research and lots of planning and here today to film the River Lea navigation, I left the tripod at home. So it's going to be a bit clumsy. Apologies in advance. Looking that way and only a few hundred yards further around that corner is Hertford Castle. This is about where the navigation ends. The walls along the backs of people's gardens are clearly very old, several hundred years old. And all of the buildings, the new ones included, have all been built to emulate the old wharf-side buildings. This is about the last place that you could turn a boat round. You could probably manage a boat of 65 to 70 foot in this basin. And in fact there is one, a wide beam of about that length, just the other side of the bridge. There's a channel in the middle of all the weed where you could get a boat down. I'm pretty sure you'd need to have an inspection of your weed hatch once you've been up or down here. It's very pretty though. And there's a lovely, lovely pub called the Old Barge. Very nice waterside. From the north side of the Old Cross Basin, the River Lea runs just a few yards north and reconnects via a weir to the Lea navigation in Hertford Basin complex. The basin is home to about 20 permanently moored boats. You can see where the River Lea runs not quite parallel to the navigation around much of the town. As you walk down the towpath and alongside the rather modern buildings that are very much in keeping with what the old wharf buildings would have looked like, you come to Hertford Marina Complex. It's not huge, probably room for about 30 or so boats, but it's a very pretty weir. It's full of ducks and geese, and you've got Hertford Centre just away over to the right. Everything you need all on your doorstep. As I videoed the weir, the waterbirds, the river itself, moored boats and the rest of the basin, I started to record a boat that had just come under Bridge 71 into the basin, having taken a nice cruise to Ware and back, with a stop at a nice pub and a pint. As I'd finished recording, I asked if I could use the recording on the video. Moments after getting confirmation, the chap steering Gorse shouted, "I want to speak to you." At first I thought perhaps they didn't want my video of their boat to be used, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Clive, at the tiller, had read my card that I'd thrown onto the bow of their boat. He had noticed that we were interested in history, amongst other things, of the British waterways. Clive said that his grandfather had worked on boats out of London and that he would like to talk about it. We agreed to meet in a few days for just that. So watch one of the videos on the Lea navigation to follow this one. Later in the day I arrived at Feildes Lock and Weir, which can be found northeast of Hodsdon Industrial Estate. As the river was diverted and managed to create the navigation in the early 1770s, the weir and lock are quite typical of all the locks on the Lea navigation. Going east of Feildes Lock and Weir is the River Stort navigation that runs for almost 14 miles with 15 locks to Bishop Stortford. The industrial estate around Feildes Lock was a busy wharf with many buildings that serviced the boats and the cargoes they carried. There is very little left of them today, just a few decaying remnants. The vast majority of the industrial units present today are modern. You can see here a few walls of what was once part of a busy hub that utilised the Lea navigation. The Lea navigation begins at Limehouse Cut in London and runs right into Hertford town centre. There are 21 locks along the 27.5 miles of waterway. The present navigation, largely engineered by Thomas Yeoman, was a busy waterway for many years, only declining with the onset of the railways. The river has been used since the Bronze Age. The Saxons, the Romans, Vikings all used the river extensively. In medieval times, there is documentary evidence that the river was altered by the Abbot of Waltham to improve navigation in 1190 and again in 1221. All through the ages, the river was used for transporting grain and later industrial products and fuels. Given that I have forgotten my tripod, I'm going to use the best tripod that I have, and that's my drone. And I want you to look at these lock gates. So we have full length metal arms on the upper side of the lock, and if we just fly the drone to the far end, hopefully the drone will stay still. It's pilotless at the moment. So these elbow lock gates, very different from the normal lock gates at the top end, are designed specifically to not take up so much room when they open. If you had a full lock gate beam here, it's going to stick out into the path, and also the path the other side. So when space is of a premium, these are quite commonplace throughout the canal network. There aren't hundreds of them, but there are enough of them to be noticeable. They take a bit more pushing because you haven't got the full amount of leverage that you can get on. You've only got this half stem, if you like, but other than that, they're pretty cool, I think. When you look on Google Maps, Feildes is spelt properly, I before E. But it's very different here, and the sign over on the weir says Feildes Weir, E-I-L-D-E-S, like it does here. So I'm assuming that Google have got it wrong in this instance. It seems unusual for somebody to print a sign like that with an obvious spelling mistake. So we'll see if we can find out some more about Feildes Weir and Lock. So hopefully that wasn't as clumsy as I thought it was going to be. No tripod. Karen and I have just moved house, and she's had work today. I've got a dodgy foot, so I've been really hobbling about. And when I arrived at Hertford, there's a train over there, ignore that. When I arrived at Hertford, I realised to our horror, my tripods were at home. Normally they live in the car, and we just grab the camera bags and off we go. Got here. So it's all been handheld. I haven't got a selfie stick, and so it's been handheld phone and drone camera for the day. Met a couple of really nice chaps in Hertford Basin. The older brother, Clive, lives on a boat. His brother, Len, was there, and they were just arriving as I arrived. And we're going to go back, Karen and I, on Sunday and talk to them about their grandfather, who used to work working boats out of London, and I think on the Lee navigation. That would be really cool. So a glass of wine's been promised, so we're definitely going to be there. So meanwhile, if you have enjoyed this video, please press like, leave us a comment, keep them nice. Please, if you've got information that's different to what I've put out, let us know. There's 2 or 3 more videos to follow this one in the same series, and we'll update as we go if it becomes necessary. And of course, don't forget to push the subscribe button, and we'll see you again soon on I Do Canals. Cheerio.